So when you plot these points, -5, -1, that's K. L is -2, 4. M is 3, 1. And N is 0, -4. So that looks like it might be a square. Looks pretty close. So the directions say use the diagonals to determine whether the parallelogram with the given vertices is a rectangle, rhombus, or square. So it tells us it's a parallelogram. So we can just jump in with the diagonals and check to see if the diagonals are congruent, it is a rectangle. If the diagonals are perpendicular, it's a rhombus. And if both of those are true, then it's a square. So check to see if the diagonals are congruent. We're going to do the distance formula. Diagonals are L, N. So we're going to do distance formula with L and N. So distance formula is x minus x. So we're doing -2 minus 0 squared plus y minus y, 4 minus -4 squared. And that's all inside a square root. Then we'll find the length of Ln. So that's -2 squared is 4. 4 minus negative, that's plus. So we get 8 squared is 64. Add that up, you get the square root of 68. That's the diagonal. Square root of 68. Then we check the other diagonal, which would be Km. Distance formula again is x minus x, so -5 minus 3 squared. And then the y minus the y, -1 minus 1 squared. And that's the length of Km whenever we work, whatever we get when we work that out. So -8 squared, so -8 times -8, 64. -2 and -2 is 2. -2 squared is 4. 64 plus 4 again is square root of 68. So they have the same length. The diagonals have the same length. So it is a rectangle. Since those two are equal, square root of 68, square root of 68, it is definitely a rectangle. If the diagonals are also perpendicular, then it's a rectangle and a rhombus. You put those together, that's a square. So now we're going to check the slope of the diagonals. So the slope of Ln goes down 2, 4, down 8 and over 2. You can reduce that to -4/1 if you want to. The slope of Km goes up 2 and over 8. Up 2 over 8. So the slopes are opposite reciprocals, which means the diagonals are perpendicular. If the diagonals are perpendicular, that means rhombus. We already said it's a rectangle. You put that together, that means that shape is definitely a square. So we can do the same thing with this other problem. First, we'll plot the points, negative 4, 6. That's P. There's Q. R, and S is negative 3, 0. So does not look like that's a rectangle. It says to use the diagonal, so we will use the diagonals to check if it's a rectangle. We need the length of those diagonals. So for the length of PR, distance formula is x minus x squared. And then y minus y, 6 minus negative 1 squared. So that's negative 7 times negative 7 is 49 when you square it. And then 6 minus negative, so that's plus 1. It's 7 squared, again, it's 49. Add that up. You get 98. Square root of 98 is PR. And then the other diagonal will be QS. So same distance formula, you take the x minus the other x. So 2 minus negative 3 squared. And y minus y is 5 minus 0 squared. So that turns to 2 plus 3, which is 5. 5 squared is 25. 5 squared again, 25. So we get square root of 50. So square root of 98, square root of 50, they are not the same length, so it's not a rectangle. Diagonals are not congruent, so it's not a rectangle. So we check the slopes. Get the slope of PR. So P to R goes down goes down 7 and over 7. From S to Q, that slope, it goes up 5 and over 5. So 5 over 5 is the same as 1 over 1. Negative 7 over 7 is the same as a negative 1 over 1. So we have a positive and a negative, so they're opposites. And they are flipped. They are reciprocal. So opposite reciprocals means that's a right angle. So it's a rhombus.